All right, all right, all right. Okay. I think we're live. All right, how you all doing, my no more people pleasing family? It is good to see you all today. I wanted to go over some things with you that I think is really important. Of course, I always have information that I think that is important, and we're just looking to just share with you and help you to get these wins. And what I want to speak about today is ways that people pleasing links to depression. I think we're going to stick with that title. I might change that up. But ways that people pleasing links to depression. Okay, we want to talk about that, right? Um and so there, a lot of times we don't really recognize this is pretty serious. So a lot of times many of us, our baseline, what we're just used to is being in situations and environments that don't serve us. So if somebody was to ask you if you're happy, then you might say, yeah, I'm happy. um but that's because many of us have never really experienced what true happiness is. Okay, happiness by no means is dependent on a relationship or who we're with, but it does have some contribution, right? And so someone might even ask you, are you happy in your relationship? Okay. And these are the same relationships that we're in where we are not having our needs met. But because that has been baseline for you throughout your life, you may think and believe or even say that I'm happy in this relationship. Sometimes happiness equates to I have someone. That's how serious this is. I mean, I just had a case like that just last week. Sometimes happiness in our minds equates to I have someone. Doesn't have anything to do with what they're doing for me or with me or how engaged they are in a relationship, but because we've been so used to being in environments to where we are meeting everyone else's needs instead of our own. Happiness can sometimes just mean that I have someone with me. Okay. All right. And so we want to talk about again ways that people pleasing links to depression. Okay. Um, and so we want to give credit to who is it? I want to give credit to Psych Central. And I gotta hurry up because I'm supposed to show this video. To Psych Central, who gave some ideas on this. So, what are some examples of codependent behaviors? And I want you to be thinking about, is this you, or can you identify with it, and do these things make you happy or not? Right? Because sometimes we don't even take the time to try to discover and identify what it means to be happy. What it mean? We're just kind of content. We're just kind of existing. We're often creating narratives in our minds about things that just aren't true. Am I really happy? Who can be happy genuinely when they are not getting their needs met by the person they're with? So maybe we could say that we're happy um, just in general, but sometimes we have to come to the harsh reality. Am I happy in this relationship? Now, that's a pointed question. How could I be happy in this relationship when all these things? What makes me happy in this relationship? Think about this. If you're in a relationship right now that's very toxic and you're with a narcissist or someone who's manipulative, who doesn't care for you, I want you to think about how can you, what about this relationship makes me happy? Oh, we have good times in it. Yeah, I understand. But does that make you happy? On a continuum. Okay. So we got to skip past because I want to get to this video. But examples of codependent behaviors, are these familiar with you? Agreeing to work overtime even though you have a serious doctor's appointment. Ooh, that's such a good one. That's a good one. You have something serious going on that it could be major as far as whatever they might diagnose you with, whatever they've been suggesting may be existing. But because your boss says, I need you to work overtime, And although you see many others on the job that refuse it when asked, something in me just can't say no. And so I'm going to miss out on something that is important to me, to my body. Man, okay. All right. So, covering for your team and doing their report, even though you have deadlines, covering for your team. And this is how we make them codependent. This is how they end up growing up many times having uh anger and resentments towards the ones who never let them think for themselves. This is how many kids grow up and don't want to work, end up being lazy, or marrying someone who is a codependent as well and will just do everything for them. Okay. Most of us, we don't want our little girls in these types of situations. Certainly don't want our boys either. But covering for your team, doing their work. Why are you doing their work? Let them learn. Okay. Feeling unable, I gotta move. Ooh, unable to work or sleep until you and your partner work out your argument. Now that's a tough one, right? Because sometimes it is like, I mean, hard to sleep if something like that is going on, right? But that could be a sign of codependent behaviors. And for some of you, it doesn't even have to be that significant. Maybe your spouse or partner asked you to do something and you didn't do it, and you're concerned that because you didn't do it or you didn't do it right, that they have some issues with you. I had one client to say that I don't fear about what I bring to the table. I just feel like I don't bring enough. I know I bring a lot to the table, but I just don't feel like I bring enough. And so what we process in these situations is what actually is enough, because that's something many of us have never really thought about. What would be enough? Would enough even be you? Because many times enough is somebody else that I'm comparing with, that I'm looking up to, but can't have you imagine yourself being enough? See, these are the type of questions we ask in coaching and things like that. We get you to thinking, right? Okay, lifting up your aging relatives even though you have a documented back injury. Oh my goodness. So we're going to abuse our bodies. All right. Spending your savings to pay your partner's bills while they buy substances, or just don't buy anything relative to helping out. That's a common one. All right. So these are some examples of codependent behaviors. What does this lead to? Signs, let's just say, so what's associated with this? Signs of codependency. We often end up having difficulty expressing our needs. We experience exhaustion, hopelessness, fear of abandonment. So this is a lot of these that I just mentioned. If we're to be honest, this kind of is going through my mind on a constant basis. Okay, it's going through my mind on a constant basis. That you, if that's you, just put a thumbs up in the chat or say yes, yes. Some of these that you're talking about, I'm experiencing on a regular basis. Or if you can identify, say yes, yes. Just put that in the chat. Um, Irritability, lack of boundaries, low self-esteem, sadness, shame, and taking the blame of others. Um, we call it I forget the term, but we got to move. Okay, so a lot of these things that we experience can lead. These actions can lead to depression, and people pleasing often involves us keeping the peace. We keep the peace because we don't want to be deemed as being mean. We keep the peace because we don't want to be deemed as selfish, as being selfish. And so we keep the peace, but we're going to show a video that kind of breaks down, is it okay to keep keeping the peace? And what is that costing me to keep the peace? Many times, when we start keeping the peace, or we get used to keeping the peace, it's because we have experienced an adverse situation early on, and we learned that keeping the peace seemed to be the best option. But has that been working out for you? Okay, so we want to help you out. I'm going to show this video. Okay, if I can, hopefully I can get this stuff working right. uh and this is deep. You need to check it out. I'm a big fan of Mel Robbins, and this is a video from one of her interviews. All right, let's go on and play this real quick.
Much evidence that it's possible. It's both spiritual and I could argue the case.
Yes, yes.
But for somebody who is sitting in the disbelief,
Yeah.
how do you cross over to believe?
Yeah. So it's a couple of levels. One of them is to get people to reflect on what do they believe all human beings deserve.
Well, I believe I'm a chicken,
Right.
and all I see are chickens,
Well,
and I believe I'm on the ground. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? Like we
yes,
go back to
yes,
this. How do
yes.
you possibly convince yourself that you
Right.
could be illegal?
Actually,
if
let
you've
me
never seen
start a
it?
little bit
Well, of course you can.
earlier.
I have just wait. I have so much evidence that it's possible. It's both spiritual and I could argue the case.
Yes, yes.
But for somebody who is sitting
Yeah,
in the
well, let's just play it right here.
All human beings deserve.
well, I believe I'm a chicken,
Right.
and all I see are chickens,
Well,
and I believe I'm on the ground. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? Like we
yes,
go back to
yes,
this. How
yes.
do you possibly convince yourself that you
Right.
could be an eagle if you've never seen one?
Yes, yes. So what we connect with is disrupting what we call the cognitive distortions. So it's not
That's
just
a big word.
Yes,
What is
I'm
cognitive
gonna-
distortion?
So your false thought, the lies,
Okay.
the lies you told yourself, and the lies other people told you.
What if?
Let me give you an example.
Okay,
of the
please.
lies. So for people who were molested,
Yes.
they either were told directly or indirectly that that is their fault, right? That it's because they developed early, or it's because they shouldn't have been over there, or whatever it is, that somehow that's on you. And so we have to demonstrate that that is a lie. So how do I demonstrate that that is a lie? Does every girl who develops breast early deserve to be molested?
Of course not.
So you are not an exception to that rule.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
I can see another lie
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a survivor of that kind of abuse.
Yeah.
It's the shh,
Mm-hmm.
don't tell anyone,
Mm-hmm.
or you'll get in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. And what I learned about that, I say from my own journey, is I was taught that keeping quiet kept the peace until I realized whose peace is it keeping?
Oh.
Mic drop.
Right? The offender's at peace, the people who don't want to deal with it at peace, and I, in this little body, am holding all of the war. So I don't want to hold it anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, this is what we're taught. You're going to upset things. You're going to upset people. Nobody wants to hear that. And yeah, there's no peace.
Whose peace are you keeping?
Yeah.
You're making it easy for everybody else
Mhm.
as it's slowly
Right.
destroying you.
Absolutely. And often then they're doing it to multiple people over the course of years. The silence gives freedom for it to continue.
How do you counsel people who, in the process,
All right, all right. We're gonna stop it right there. Wow. I think that's pretty major. Many of us have been taught that keeping quiet keeps the peace. And it may not have been a major trauma such as sexual abuse or something like that, that occurred in your life. You know, when we do coaching, we don't go deep into that. But we do bring it to the surface if it's a concern that is obstructing the peace. Okay. Um, so the thing is that keeping quiet keeps the peace. And at what expense? And what has that been costing you? And whose peace have you been keeping? The people's peace that you've been keeping, how concerned have they been about your peace? Right? And so when we talk about changing the game and changing the situation, changing the functions and operations for what you've been living in, this is not anything to rebel against those who have hurt or harmed you or who exist in your life that have been taking advantage of you and things of that nature. One of the things that we make big when coaching is the focus on you. Okay. So although others may be doing things that are harmful, that we don't like, we focus on how are you feeling and adapting and adjusting to the situation. What's going to make you feel powerful? Because when we start reflecting on you, that alleviates those possibilities of me defaulting to silencing myself or keeping the peace for others. Okay? Silencing myself, enduring pain physically, monetarily, emotionally. When have you been happy in this? So I'm gonna leave it right there. It's time to make that change, right? And for any of you all that are ready to make that change, just put change in the chat if you're ready and you want us to reach out to you about coaching. We have a team. With someone on our team would be able to connect with you and support you with making that change that's going to give you freedom, that's going to bring peace to yourself. So therefore, you can use that energy to provide peace to everyone else too. All right, we'll talk to y'all. We'll see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.